So we're going to be discussing on this video Goku versus the Marvel Universe, the Marvel Comics Universe, not the MCU. We're going to be discussing, can Goku beat the Marvel Universe, or who can he beat in the Marvel Universe? Who would fall victim to him and who would destroy him? We'll be talking about that here today. And I want to clarify that for most of this discussion, we'll be talking about Ultra Instinct Goku, the silver-haired version, because we're going to pick the strongest version of Goku possible. So we're not going to talk about, any of the previous forms or even Super Saiyan 4. The strongest and most impressive version of Goku is UI Goku silver-haired. So it's going to be him against the Marvel Comics universe. So joining me on this, he's done an extraordinary amount of research for this video, and I'm very happy to have him back on the channel. Please welcome Chuck.
So what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing? Glad to be here.
Yes, I'm glad that you're here as well, brother. So, Marvel versus Goku. So I want to start off by saying that, the reality is that you and I are fans of both Dragon Ball and Marvel, and we're not fanboys. So this whole topic is not going to be us wanking off one or the other. This is actual research that was done. So if you're out there and you're a fanboy of one of these two universes, we're going to hit you with facts, okay?
Education.
Education, yes. This is not anything against, the writers of each of the two universes. It's just the way things are and the way they play out. Remember, Marvel's been around longer, it's older, and there's more content, so it might be a little bit skewed in that sense, but at the same time, there's other stuff that's been older than Dragon Ball, and we can scale it to it. But here, we're talking about UI Goku against Marvel. So I want to start off by asking you about sort of before we get to the higher tier Marvel characters and entities, like, characters like the X-Men, like Spider-Man, and sort of the popular, Iron Man, Captain America, the popular, I guess, mainstream Marvel superstars. I would assume that UI Goku would chew through most of those guys, right? It's pretty fair to say, right?
Yeah, so I would say that, obviously, the street-level characters like Luke Cage and stuff like that, yeah, Goku could beat them, even as a kid. Captain America, it depends if you want to give him his hammer or an Infinity Gauntlet,
just
straight up, yeah. So if it's straight up, yes. With the X-Men, yes, I do believe he could beat a good number of them. Most of the, I guess you could say, really simple level abilities, like Cyclops, I guess you could say. Obviously not including the other iterations, but the thing is with Marvel is that there's a really crazy power creep. However, even in the classic comics, they already had a pretty complex cosmology, but now it's gone even bigger than before. So I have done videos in the past. We have done videos in the past, scaling these characters before. There's just an even bigger mountain that Goku has to climb to actually try to go up against the gods, for example. But yeah,
right,
So, but yes, I do believe he can take on Spider-Man for sure and all those characters. I think it's pretty obvious. He's just way too fast, too durable. Their abilities wouldn't really work on him because obviously, going by Dragon Ball logic, and to an extent, Marvel does it as well. If you're basically just more chatty, you have more energy, then somebody's ability won't be able to be used on you. Obviously, there's exceptions in Marvel and Dragon Ball, but that's a general rule, though.
Well, I want to work my way up here. So, for example, we have, kind of the higher tier mutants that we can talk about. Like, for example, a guy like an Apocalypse or the Phoenix Force. How do you think, those would fare against Goku? As we work our way up, sort of. And also, your thoughts on, the Molecule Man, Owen Reese, and characters like that. Because he's very strong.
Yeah, he pretty much, just farts and blows away the whole verse, so...
Goku's history then.
Yeah, for sure. So
now what about Apocalypse and the Phoenix Force?
Okay, so the Phoenix Force, it is the entity that represents life and rebirth. And basically an avatar of it exists in every single verse. The Phoenix Force is so powerful that Starving Galactus can't do anything against it. And Odin, I guess he holds it to a high regard.
Right.
We'll actually get to Odin in a second, but yeah, the Phoenix Force, I don't think Goku can beat it. Maybe he could fragment it, as even Iron Man has done it, but Iron Man, I'll get into him too. But the Phoenix Force is basically just this form of energy that is basically tied to, I guess, psionic type of ability. So mental control, telepathy.
Right. Well, that actually brings me to a point here. How do you feel about a character like Professor Xavier or Psylocke, who know about the psionic and the whole mental realm? Like, how would they fare against Goku? Could Professor Xavier shut off Goku's brain, in your opinion?
I definitely think he can, because he was actually able to match the Phoenix Force to like a pretty high point of reality. Yeah.
Right.
I would say standard Professor X, no, but I would say that if you use him as like at his best, when he's like going up against like these other entities like the Phoenix Force and stuff like that. I think he also like went up against Goddess alongside Thanos, like because like she was like her mental prowess is so powerful. Professor X was able to be comparable to Thanos's mental attacks at one stage. So so I definitely do think that Professor X could like mind hack him.
Moving on, okay, so how do you feel about the Asgardians? Thor, Loki, Odin, how would they fare against UI Goku with silver hair?
Okay, so I want to kind of bring this up a little bit. Although Dragon Ball and Marvel have very different cosmologies, they have a similar, I guess you could say, tiering system between, I guess, like these 3 points. So Herald level, I guess you could think of it as like, Goku and Vegeta and Android 17, right? Sky Father would be, I guess, akin to God of Destruction. Now, obviously, God of Destruction and Sky Father is, I would say it's like a classification, but also a power sense. Obviously, the Gods of Destruction and the Sky Fathers have different levels of power between like their own groups. Some are stronger than others, but I think all of them are generally in a tier that's above Herald level. However, and Goku and Vegeta, like obviously with their forms and their training, they have reached Sky Father tier 100%. But it doesn't mean that they are the top of the Sky Father tier. So let me start off with Thor real quick. He's generally been able to, deal with characters who can destroy stars and solar systems and even galaxies, right? So you'll say, it's like Boo Saga level. However, Thor has consistently fought against like, Mephisto and Hela and Zeus, who's equal to Odin. And Thor might have not been able to beat them, but he's definitely contested against them. So even classic Thor is already Skyfather tier. Silver Surfer is pretty comparable to him. You could even argue that he's... I was
gonna ask about him. Yeah.
So the thing with Thor and the Silver Surfer is that they're really damn fast. Surfer has been able to cross from like one end of the universe to the other in like basically a couple of moments. He's been able to fly through galaxies pretty quick too. Thor scales to him. They've even like, flown so fast that they can like go back in time. Now, obviously Marvel's physics works differently than Dragon Ball. So I guess we can't really like use that to, Goku's disadvantage. But obviously we know that in both of these universes, you can go much faster than light without tearing the fabric. A way that I would say that Thor and the Silver Surfer are basically like a much faster dispo, and they have like hacks. Yeah. I would actually say that Surfer is as fast, if not even faster than Whis, and Goku's not going to touch him. So Surfer and Thor, although they don't have like the raw power or durability to endure many attacks from Goku or, hurt him directly, I do believe they would give him a hard time. I think Goku could beat them because they really can't, hurt him permanently, but they would basically just be speed blitzing him most of the time. But I think Goku could take care of them with some difficulty. For those that might be wondering, I am clearly talking about the standard versions of Thor and the Silver Surfer, not the new Black Surfer or the new Power Cosmic Thor that became a Herald of Galactus. The thing with Goku is that we know that he was able to react to like these shockwaves that him and Beerus were producing that were going outside of like the, living universe of the Kaioshin realm, which is outside of it, and these other realms in between them. So in Daizenshu 4, the world geography, it tells you that Universe 7, the living universe, is infinite, and then in the other world, there's heaven, which is as wide as the living universe, and you can actually use some estimates going by the illustration that Toriyama has made in these other illustrations. You can use it to give you a relative scale. Obviously, it's not going to be 100% because it's like a presentation generally. But you can get that the afterlife can contain like hundreds of heavens. So you could even argue that the Universe 7 macrocosm contains enough space to hold like hundreds and not even thousands of infinite realms.
Yeah, because so many people have died for so many millions of years. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, and some people have tried to downplay saying, oh, how is it infinite if Earth is on the edge of the universe? Well, here's the thing. Just because it has an edge or has a general outer boundary doesn't mean that it's infinite. It would just mean that it would be, quote unquote, finite on a lower dimensional scale. So, for example, let's say you're looking at a painting, right? the beings who exist in this painting, they see it as infinite. But to us, who are higher dimensional beings, we see it as finite.
Right. That is a great comparison, bro. Chuck is the Isaac Asimov of comic books. Right.
But anyway, so Goku, obviously in base and revival of Frieza, became stronger than his Super Saiyan self, who obviously fought Beerus with the God Essence. But yeah, there's like a lot of really crazy power creep because we already have Jiren, who is already stated to being beyond, Vegito and merge Zamasu. Supreme Kai's like, whoa, dude, he's so chatty. Whis is like, holy shit. Everyone's just like, hyping him up. And we know he's like suppressed after the second UI, after he fights off against Kefla. We know that him and Vegeta are fighting a much more powerful Jiren, who's stated to have been more riled up. He's a lot more excited to fight. So Goku in that point, in that battle, even before Mastered UI, is already stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Vegito and Merge Zamasu, who are way more powerful than base ROF Goku, who can already wipe out Universe 7, right? So basically the thing with Dragon Ball is that they are extremely powerful. They have crazy raw power. They have very good speed. The thing that limits them a lot is a dimensional boundary, because you can argue that Goku, got like an infinite power up. He's able to wipe out the space time of Universe 7, so wipe out all the matter, the time and space dimensions. But even as powerful as he's gotten, he's not like, say, fifth dimensional, right?
Right. And just to go over that briefly before we go into that, I think the biggest feat that we saw achieved in Super TOP is when Jiren broke Hit's time cage, because Vados herself says that Jiren is above the limitations of space-time because he was able to break a time cage that Hit created, and then later on completed UI Goku with the silver hair was able to beat Jiren. So would that would be at least fourth dimensional, right? At that point, if you're able to break time. Okay, but fifth dimensional is, can you exist beyond time? And we know for a fact that not even Zeno can do it, because there are multiple Zenos. We have future Zeno, present Zeno. If Zeno was truly fifth dimensional, there would be one Zeno that would exist among all the multiverse. And the problem is that the higher tier gods of Marvel, even the mid tier gods of Marvel, are able to achieve this.
So now when we get into the big boys like Odin and Zeus and stuff like that, the Skyfather tier is really crazy high, because even though Thor has been able to compete with, these other characters before, he's not on the level of Odin. Like, Odin has made it very clear that, his son cannot do anything to him. I would say that generally Beerus should be comparable to Odin, because, both of them have nullified multiversal levels of energy. Odin has been able to fight off against Seth. They tore the fabric of the multiverse. It's even said in the Marvel Encyclopedia that Seth was trying to end all life in the multiverse by damaging the World Tree. The World Tree contains, these 9 realms, technically 10, because Odin literally separated a realm from it. So he basically manipulated a multiversal structure.
That should tell you something right there.
Yeah, so it's also said that the World Tree is connected to infinite World Trees, and it could arguably have countless, if not infinite, realms within it. So Odin basically saved like infinite pocket universes. They are said to be pocket universes. However, just because they are, quote unquote, smaller than a general universe, doesn't mean that it's not universal. So Odin can already save an infinite amount of these universes, not even at full power. And to point back to the whole battle with Seth that Odin had with him, you can even argue that the ripple reached hyperversal ranges, since it was stated that it resonated across every plane of reality. So when you account for the fact that there are infinite dimensions or planes of reality in the Marvel multiverse, that would make Odin and comparable characters already being able to fight at greater ranges and have been shown in Dragon Ball.
Now, what about the Celestials and kind of those that tier? Where would you rank them? Because the Celestials are insane.
Oh man, this is pretty crazy. So essentially what happened is that like a million years ago, Odin and like a primordial avatar of the Phoenix Force, who he basically banged, and also the Ghost Rider and all those fools, they were basically like these primordial Avengers. They fought against this Dark Celestial that was like dying. They barely beat it. Now, here's a crazy thing, too. So, according to Cubic, he says that there are sets of infinity, and these beings are beyond time already. Odin is also beyond time. They basically, neglect the normal laws or the mortal laws of time and space. And even the lowest ranked Celestials are above that. So basically 6-dimensional, like the lowest ones, right? And obviously they're much more powerful than ones than that. But to give you an idea about how crazy the Celestials are, Odin, Vishnu, and Zeus, they try to roll up on Arishem because like Arishem was gonna like wipe out their realms, and they blasted him with like a really powerful attack, and Arishem's like, what was that piece of shit you just threw at me, right? Like what are you trying to do? And basically like all three of them got like these visions of this guy's gonna like burn down all of our realms, right? So later on, they basically like have like this little truce or whatever. And Odin's like, okay, I need to prep for these fools. Literally, this fool had to prep for 1,000 years, made the destroyer armor. He more than likely was training or preparing in some way. He got this destroyer armor imbued with the energy of other gods, and then like he basically channeled all of the energy from all of the Asgardians into himself, and even then he couldn't kill one Celestial. And here's a crazy thing too. He also had like his enchanted sword, and it couldn't even like really kill like the Arishem. Arishem literally stabbed himself with it just to study it. He's like, oh yeah, that's a pretty interesting sword, and then he just melts it. Now, what I'm trying to get at here is that if we say that Beerus is comparable to Odin, right, and we say Goku is comparable to them as well, put Beerus into an armor that's enchanted with energy from other beings in the universe.
The other gods'
yeah. Let's just say they give him his energy. Beerus prepped for 1,000 years, give him like a sword, and he can't beat a Celestial. He just can't. He just can't.
Right. So there's just no way. It's just, is it even worth discussing? I mean, we already did a video, you and I, about Goku versus Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. That's a separate video. I'll leave a link at the end of this one. But do we even have to get into eternity, infinity, and the in-betweener and these? This is like we're going beyond everything.
Yeah. So I don't think it's even worth it because these guys are just
worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean we can though if you want. I mean it is your video.
Well, okay, Goku would lose. There you go. Yeah, that part's over. Now, let's briefly talk about the video game verse of Dragon Ball. Talking about Heroes Online and Xenoverse, because the power creep in those is actually far and away beyond the anime and the manga of Dragon Ball. Heroes, of course, it's all fan service, and you don't have to like it if you don't want to, but the power creep in that franchise, or in that, I guess, collective of a multiverse, is something that we've never experienced in the mainline Dragon Ball ever.
Yeah, so essentially, like, Demigra, who's like the main villain in Xenoverse, he was planning to wipe out the Time Nest, which is infinite, and the Crack of Time, which is also infinite. Essentially, he was going to wipe out 3 infinite sets of history, going by that and the parallel quest, which derives from the timelines, obviously. Chronoa, the Supreme Kai of Time, is like, hey, like, if you wipe this out, you're going to wipe out all of history. And Demigra's like, oh, I'm going to control all of time and space. He was going to use Toki Toki, who is, I guess you could say, I'm not going to say he's an abstract being, but he's kind of like the representation of time in that verse.
He's pretty close. He lays eggs that create timelines. And you have to understand that timelines in Dragon Ball exist outside of the universes. There's 12 universes within every timeline. So if you're able to destroy a timeline, we're talking about literally an infinite number of possibilities within that timeline within 12 universes. So this is like far and away beyond maybe even Zeno, possibly. I would say we're talking about 5th dimension now, right?
Yeah. So
beyond Zeno.
Yeah, the canon one, of course. So essentially, like, what you get into is that Super Saiyan 3 Goku, even before Revival of Frieza, was able to kill him, a stronger one, alongside the Time Patroller or whatever. And then Goku gets really stupid, like, power creeps, like, let me give you guys an example just going off of Heroes, which, we know is connected to Xenoverse in a way. Obviously, as I said, Goku, at the end of the Tournament of Power, is stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Vegito from the Goku Black arc. Then, this Goku gets some crazy Zenkais. Cumber is so powerful that Vegito, Super Saiyan Blue with Kaioken cannot do anything to him. And then at the very end of the arc, when they fight against Hearts, this Cumber is obviously much stronger. And Jiren, slapping him around. And then Goku as Super Saiyan Blue is able to throw hands against Hearts, who is already much more powerful than that Cumber, who was kicking the crap out of him and Vegeta fused with Kaioken. Essentially, you can argue that video games Goku is between the 5th and 6th dimensional ranges of power. I believe 5th dimensional is reasonable at the very least, but 6th dimensional is also very possible. You see, the crack of time itself could be low fifth dimensional because crystals are not only connected to several timelines, but they are outright larger timelines than the time scrolls. And since there are 3 infinite sets of history that infinitely expand, it would also mean that the crack of time would also have to be an infinitely expanding 4th dimensional structure, or even low 5th dimensional. There are also extra dimensional spaces within the multiverse, and to get to the real world, you have to transcend dimensions again. So, at that point, he could definitely go in against the Skyfathers. I can maybe see him defeat a couple of them. But even if we said, okay, he can defeat the Skyfathers, he's not going to defeat the Celestials. There's just no way. I would like to add in that although Goku defeating the Skyfathers would be very hard for him, if he does go up against the Celestials, killing them is pretty much impossible for him, but I can see him destroy parts of their armor. Because we have seen Susan Richards and even Thor do it before, and although you can consider it to be like an outlier, Thor was able to cut through a Celestial's armor with an enchanted axe.
Now, before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned Iron Man earlier. Do you have something with Iron Man you want to discuss?
Yeah. So people have been outplaying my boy because they're like, oh, he's just a dude in armor. And it's like, yeah, okay. But remember how we talked about the Phoenix Force, right? Iron Man made an armor to, okay, he had some help with it, but he made an armor, the Phoenix Buster, to shatter that Phoenix Force into 5 pieces. Okay.
Yep.
And
that was obviously, again, if you've only seen the MCU, you don't know like how crazy the comics get when it comes to this type of shit. It's just for those who might not have seen it or read it. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and he even made a God Killer Mark II armor, which was able to throw hands somewhat against these Dark Celestials, which are already stronger than normal Celestials. So, unironically, with prep, Iron Man could beat Goku. If he's able to make armor that can contend with beings that are Skyfather tier and higher, then I do believe he could beat Goku, definitely.
And on Chuck's channel, he did do a video about the Saiyan Buster armor, about what would an armor that Iron Man create how would it perform against Goku, Vegeta, etc.
With Iron Man, he was able to make the God Killer Mark II that was able to throw hands against Dark Celestials, who are already more powerful than normal Celestials. Tony has also made an Uru armor, which is basically like a bleeding edge suit that was enchanted by Asgardian magic and metal, and it is very durable. And when you add in the fact that he made an armor out of a Celestial to make Infinity Gauntlet Thanos stumble on his ass, alongside the fact that he was Doctor Strange in one universe and even made a suit to channel magical energies, yeah, I think a composite Iron Man definitely has a chance to beat Goku. Iron Man has been able to keep up with Thor and even made the Sentry admit that he was fast. Now, I'm not saying that he's as fast as they are at their best, but his suits are clearly able to fight and react at faster than light speeds. He's also made suits that can manipulate and nullify different types of energy like mystical energies, the power cosmic, and arguably even ki since it is in Marvel as well.
Right, yeah. Traditional extremist Iron Man wouldn't hold a chance, but with prep and Marvel comics, maybe even with help from Banner and other scientists, they could come up with something.
It's not even so much about the Skyfathers being so powerful, but because they are already 5th dimensional at least, arguably higher, but because you can think of it this way. Odin is like a Beerus or Whis type of character, but is faster, has time stop like Hit, has mind control, and has very powerful magic. The Silver Surfer is like a much faster Dispo with Majin Buu type regeneration, if not even greater, and with a Hakai-like ability to destroy souls. And he has a lot more abilities than that. So yeah, there's just a lot of hacks to go around, and obviously we don't even have to go over Thanos, but he would obviously.
We already did.
We did. So
we did a video on that.
Thanos would clap him as well. Hulk could clap him.
God King Thanos. I mean, it's just forget it. Forget it. So thank you, Chuck, for being here. Everybody check out Chuck's channel. I'll leave a link down below, of course, and check out these videos you're about to see on your screen if you like this content. Thank you again, bro. Yeah,
thank you so much for having me, man. I hope that some of you guys learn more about Marvel. Definitely recommend reading some of those stories. Get the encyclopedia or something, you can read up on it so you don't have to go over everything. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch you thoughties next time.
Bye.